welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. In addition, today, as always, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Both our TV channels, Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T, Channel 99. Also on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM in the greater West Bloomfield area and 88.1 WBFH The Biff in Bloomfield Hills and those surrounding areas. Online, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link at the top of the page, or view us in the small player on your web browser on your computer at the top right of our home page. Also on Facebook, as always, facebook.com/civiccentertv15 and facebook.com/lakesfm. And as always, joining me from the studio here in West Bloomfield is Ronnie Dahl.
So I'm putting out a tweet right now.
Okay.
Well, not a tweet, a Facebook post. But I will say, Tyler, do you just have those mornings where you're like, oh?
Yes. Regularly I have those mornings where I just wake up and I'm like, oh, not again. But, then you get through it. That passes in a half hour, and then you just get into go mode and take care of it.
So first, it starts with, number one, it's like rainy and dreary and just not so fun outside right now. So usually I try to start recently, or let me rephrase that, because my husband, if he were to listen, he'd laugh at this. I'm trying to re-energize my day-to-day by starting out with even just a short run, because I had signed up for the half marathon. And with my ankle, we're trying to figure out, is it going to be healed, this, that, and the other. So, but then you go out. The dog doesn't even want to go out this morning. I'm like, first you push me out of bed all night. I don't know. Well, I guess cats don't really sleep in bed with you.
No,
right?
I don't let them. Some people do, but I don't, just because I know, A, they're just going to climb over me, particularly my face all night, or they're just going to be scratching at me. So, just like, that's the one area I keep them away from. Just when I'm in here, leave me alone.
That is funny, though, because all the social media memes are always about dogs in bed with you, not so much cats.
Yeah, right.
We let Trixie sleep in bed with us, but it was different when it was a Cocker Spaniel, and they were like 25 pounds, and then you could just move them.
Of course.
She's 70.
Right, you can't just pick that up and be like, okay, no, just right over here instead. It's a little more difficult, slightly more difficult.
So she pushes me out of bed pretty much throughout the night, and then you wake up, you don't have a good night's sleep. You get up, and it's like, okay, Trixie, let's get up. And then you try to take her out, and it's raining, it's dreary. She's like, not quite ready.
No, I'm not doing this morning. That's your first indication of, oh no, this day is already not looking so good. If Trixie doesn't want to go outside and go for a walk, it's not a good day out there.
Right, and I'm like, hey, let's get up and go see your friends, meaning the deer. And you bring a little snack bag with her.
Right.
But when the dog doesn't want to go, she's like,
No.
So he's like, well, let me try her out front. Let me try her out back on the trail. No. So I said, okay, go back in the house and go back to bed. So she goes back to bed. But it's just that whole, it starts your day off on a different, I don't want to say wrong, but a different footing.
Yeah, it's just an early frustration that makes you think, okay, if this is how the rest of my day is going, it's not going to be a pleasant one. Hopefully it's all up and up from here, and this is just one early frustration. We get all the frustrations out at the beginning of the day, hopefully.
We hope. So then when I was driving here, I reached up because my hair was all sticking up. Do one of these numbers, and then I feel like a rip. And I was like, oh, is that my jacket? But I was like, oh, it's probably the seam. And then when I got here, because I try to check the back of my hair now, because there's that weird camera
you got the
angle.
Camera behind it. I haven't been using it lately, so.
Sometimes the back of my hair is always kind of wacky.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, you just care about the front. And so he's like, oh, let me take the mirror in and check, and then I see it no, it's on the outside. So anyone looking, I have a tear until I can get it to the.
Well, we haven't been using that wider angle. We've just been keeping it. Unfortunately, for the viewing public, we've been keeping it in a much closer shot on me instead of the long shot the entire studio for a while. So no one's seeing this right now. You're in luck today. Don't worry about it.
Can I just go back to bed?
I'd like to do the same thing, but we have a show to do.
I'm telling you.
Oh, man.
I am telling you. And then the conversation this morning is around our schedules. So this is, I'm sure so many other families are going through this right now. We're lucky. We don't have little ones, but we have Trixie.
Of course.
And so we got her right before the pandemic. So she has become so used to us and to the point right now that she's protective of us. It's hard for us to have people over, and we're doing all this training with her and this, that, and the other. But now as we start to emerge and go back to work, how do we handle it? He's like, when are you going to be home? Oh, you need to get home right after the show because Trixie needs to go out, but it's going to be a big adjustment for so many of our pets as so many people start to get back to their regular routines.
And not even just the routines, but like you said, the socialization as well. Because like you said, with Trixie being so protective of you and of Woody, it's mostly because for more or less, you have been the two people she's seen more than anybody else, if anybody else. And that's definitely going to be a case for a lot of dogs and a lot of other pets as well that haven't really been interacting with other animals and with other people over the course of the pandemic. And that's going to be a big adjustment for them too, as we get back to being more regularly social and having people over regularly and going out and seeing people regularly and being out in the public. They're going to have to get used to being in that close proximity and having their humans speaking to other humans and not getting defensive, thinking that it's a sticky situation.
And we should really point out to so many people as we start to emerge from the pandemic that adopted some of these rescue pets, you have to take time. They have issues, and you have to adjust to those issues, and it requires a lot of training. And I will say she's gotten better. There was a lady on the trail. Every time she would see us coming, she'd turn around and go the other way.
Oh, no.
The other morning, I saw her, and she's coming out, and I'm walking Trixie. Now Trixie doesn't even look at her. She's like, "You've done such a good job with her." That's because you haven't come to our house. But really, I think this is going to be a big issue. And so we like to remind everyone that adopted pets throughout this pandemic, as you start to switch your schedule, you go back to work, please do not take your pets back to the shelter. Just learn to work with them and train with them, because it's a new schedule for them as well.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases, the shelters that you may have adopted your pets from are a great resource for helping with making those adjustments or giving you advice of what steps you can take to try to make those adjustments productively before you get into a situation where you just can't handle things anymore and would have to give up your adopted pet, which is always the worst case scenario for the animal. So definitely take the advice of your shelter, take the advice of your veterinarian and other experts in the community as you try to make these adjustments, because it's a lot for us to adjust to coming out of a pandemic, but it's just as much, if not more, for these animals whose lives are centered around you.
Yeah, what? We should try to get Dr. Plein on with us. He's one of the big vets over at Union Lake, but he also works with the Oakland County Sheriff's Department with their pets as well. See if maybe someone over there, because I know so many people from our area and our listening and viewing area, they take their pets over there. Maybe they have some advice.
Yeah, sure they do.
We'll see. Hey, jumping into the headlines, Tyler. The governor, by the way, is expected to hold a press conference today. Did you see that, 12:15?
I have not seen that, but we'll do our best to get that.
Okay, so the governor is scheduled to have a press conference today at 12:15 to discuss the state's economic recovery from COVID-19. So we'll see how that conversation goes. In the meantime, the Michigan House okays a bill that would ban state vaccine passports. So the Michigan House voted 62 to 47 Wednesday on legislation that would ban state and local agencies from developing a vaccine passport or vaccine requirement to receive state services. Governor Gretchen Whitmer's office has said, though, no COVID-19 vaccine passport has been proposed here in the state. However, the House is saying we're taking proactive measures by doing this. Many of the appropriations bills passed by the House include boilerplate language preventing state agencies from requiring proof of vaccination for service. A separate House bill that has not yet had a hearing would prohibit employers from requiring a vaccine or forcing an employee to disclose whether or not he or she had the vaccination. Included among the government entities covered by the legislation, public universities, some of which have imposed the vaccine requirements for students living in university housing. Universities usually are considered constitutionally autonomous from the legislature and state government, so it's unclear what the effect of the bill would have on them. And I will say some Democrats actually joined their Republican leaders and addressing this issue, because while it's not required now, I do think going forward we're going to see this be a really big issue, not just here in the state of Michigan, but globally as well.
Yeah, currently there's not been any widespread discussion about having vaccine passports other than in travel out of country and in country, whether it be requirements to travel to another country or considering requirements for people that are traveling in or out of the United States to be vaccinated. That being said, it's something that is on people's minds. It's something that I'm sure is being considered in a number of different areas at government levels here in the state of Michigan, whether or not that's being said outwardly. And so it's something that's going to continue to be discussed by people of both parties. And like you said, there was some bipartisan support for this. This is going to be an ongoing discussion whether or not the governor or any other agency has any specific plans to institute vaccine passport rules. And
with us too, I was talking to someone that's a business leader here in the community, and really this puts so many businesses in a sticky situation. Mm-hmm. Do they do it? Do they not do it as you bring people back? However, when you're a global business, they're already seeing in China, life is pretty much back to normal. Yeah. So it's just, kind of the word through the food chain is, in 3 to 4 months, this is going to be a non-topic.
Right, and that brings up further discussion too, because for these individual businesses earlier on in the pandemic, enforcing mask rules and mask requirements was so difficult for them. And that's with being able to tangibly see that somebody has a mask or doesn't have a mask. With the vaccine, there is no physical evidence that somebody has been vaccinated, short of them showing you their vaccination card, which you can't really ask for. So putting them in a position to make that uncomfortable ask and then confirm that that is a true document on top of that would be a really sticky situation that would be uncomfortable for these businesses to implement, but also be extremely uncomfortable for their employees as well, who have already had to do enough enforcement work, which is well beyond what they are supposed to be doing.
I really, too, wonder if this is going to eventually be a situation like we had when we went to Africa. Mm-hmm. You were required to have these vaccines. It's just, and we didn't question it. It was, right. About 5-6 years ago, and okay, we go get the vaccines and this, that, and the other. So will this eventually just be one of those things to travel internationally that this is going to be required and that you don't really think twice about it? Because I think the issue with this is really the quickness into which the vaccine was developed. I think that's really kind of the question that so many people have.
Yeah, it's been the root of a lot of people's concerns regarding COVID-19, their hesitancy regarding the COVID-19 vaccine. I think in terms of international travel, that's the most reasonable place to put a vaccine requirement for COVID-19 in place, because you have so many other vaccination requirements to travel into or out of several different countries, and we already abide by that. We already have those vaccine rules in place. It's something that people have clearly shown over the years that they're comfortable with, and so that seems to me like the most reasonable place to have vaccine passport rules. Having a more blanket vaccine passport rule regarding the COVID-19 vaccine doesn't seem to be a very viable option at this moment in time.
And my 2 cents on all of this is if you're going to require it, simply waive the waiver that you're responsible for any medical complications that may come of it. Right. If you're going to require it, or as a government, hey, be a good citizen. You're paying millions and billions of dollars to these pharmacy companies, as well as
and they have no responsibility if things go wrong.
Right.
So if you waive that and say, you're still going to be responsible. If you want all the glory that comes with saving the world, so to speak, from COVID-19 with these vaccines that you developed so quickly, you should also have to run the risk of, if people are running the risk of any complications that may or may not ever arise, you should also have to run the complications of those as well, as we're all putting forth some effort and all making some sort of sacrifice in order to help the greater good.
I'm with you on that there, Tyler. So, hey, the Michigan Senate and House vote on the bill that lets businesses get reimbursed for their sales taxes paid on the COVID-related items. Michigan businesses with COVID-19 safety protocols could be retroactively seek a refund for sales taxes paid on personal protective equipment, disinfectants, and plexiglass barriers under bills nearing the desk of the governor. So the Senate did approve the Republican-sponsored legislation yesterday. It previously cleared the House, but goes back for a final vote because of changes made. So the sponsor has said the cost of protective equipment is among the challenges businesses have faced in the pandemic. It's not clear if the Democratic governor will sign the tax break, which could reduce revenue by at least $18 million annually. Think about that. This is one of the things, and is this something that you say, hey, if you applied for a grant and you got a grant to cover these expenses, then you don't get a tax rebate. There are so many facets to this, but I will say at the end of the day, if you're mandating businesses do this, why not give them a tax break? And we know local governments right now, it's like a lottery for them.
Right.
With all this federal money coming in for the pandemic.
Yeah, on one hand, I understand the great benefit of having a tax rebate like this for personal protective equipment, like you said, for those businesses that did not receive the grants and did not receive other beneficial monies to be able to cover some of the expenses related to COVID-19. They should absolutely be eligible for something like this. But if you received grants to purchase PPE and to purchase other equipment to comply with COVID-19 regulations, why should you, on top of that, get to earn back extra money that could be better utilized for helping the state pay off all of these different relief bills that have gone through and pay those funds back? And on top of that, take away that opportunity from businesses potentially that didn't get those same benefits that you did, but still had to spare the expense in order to comply with the rules and keep their business open.
Hey, but with that, though, we have to note, kind of good news to report over the last few weeks, because you have to remember it wasn't so long ago that we were talking about this crazy surge that we had here in the state of Michigan that so many other states were not experiencing. However, we're on a decline here in the state of Michigan. On Wednesday, they only added 420 cases of COVID-19 and 33 deaths from the virus. Figures bring Michigan's total number of cases to just over 889,000, and the deaths about 19,209 since the virus was first detected here in March of 2020. These figures are from the Department of Health and Human Services. So Wednesday's confirmed case count marks the lowest daily total in Michigan since August 21st, when there were only 374 COVID-19 cases reported. So cases and testing of the positivity in the state have declined for the past 6 weeks. Great news. Current statewide positivity rate, 6.6%. So the weekly record of 50,892 cases set in November, the week of 15th through 21, so over the Thanksgiving area time. Weekly record of 808 deaths recorded in mid-December. So as of Thursday, 58.5% of Michigan residents over the age of 16 have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. State's fully vaccinated population includes 71% of all seniors 65 years and older, 56% of people aged 50 to 64, and then 43% of people ages 40 to 49. We are making progress here in the state of Michigan. It seems like it wasn't that long ago, Tyler, that we were in the middle of this surge. Numbers are coming down. We are going into the summer as well, but I know President Biden is going to be speaking, I believe, later today as well, trying to reach that 70% threshold before the 4th of July weekend. Yeah. June is going to be an interesting month because we know here in the state of Michigan that was going to be one of those benchmarks as well. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're hitting it here.
No, I don't think we are either. We've really stagnated at that just over 50% mark, over 50-55% mark with people that have been vaccinated with at least the first of the 2 doses in the case of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines over the last several weeks. The good news here is that our case numbers continue to drop. Our death numbers, when they're reported, continue to drop. It wasn't very long ago that we had cases that would have been case numbers that would have shown, 2,420 cases instead of 420. I know we'd be well over 1,000 or 2,000 cases each and every day during that surge, and just 6 weeks later, we are down in the mid hundreds instead. So that and it continues to drop as people continue to get vaccinated, but that vaccination rate still very much has slowed down, and we still need to reach that 70% threshold for herd immunity to really be out of the woods, so to speak, on COVID-19.
So with that as a reminder, you can always check out the latest headlines. Go to civiccentertv.com. Click on a coronavirus. With that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a great show ahead for you on this Thursday edition. Tyler, my days are all mixed up.
Mine too. I'm all over the place. Today, for some reason, I thought it was Friday, but then also thought it was Wednesday. It's wild.
So throughout the pandemic, we've talked a lot to the superintendents for some of our public schools, and even members of our Catholic schools as well. So coming up next, we're going to be talking with the head of the school for an independent school. What exactly is that? How have they been managing the pandemic, and what does life look like for them and their students going forward? That's next here on the Megacast.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Great to have you with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios of Mr. Tyler Keefe. I will say, Tyler, it's still a little weird to be back here.
Yeah, and it's a little bit odd for me too, because not only are you back in the studio, but Jake is also back in the studio. We've had Larry in a few times over the course of the last few weeks working on projects. Of course, Erica Jones has taken over the Splash for the summer, and she's been in the studio, as well as our intern for the summer, Daniel Zivian. So we've had a lot of people flowing in and out of the building lately. Now with these restrictions being mostly lifted and people being vaccinated. And it's a little odd for me too, having spent the better part of the last year and a half mostly alone during the days in this building, or maybe with one other person here.
Well, if you need someone to go back to working from home, I'm your person.
I don't make those decisions, Ron.
I know, but having to actually get dressed, I'm like, oh. Normally I go down, and because you only see us from the waist up. Of
course.
So I'll be in my gym shorts.
Right, keep comfortable, but professional, yeah.
With my,
Of course.
with my slippers.
Your slippers, of course, the famous slippers.
Yeah. But here we are. I had to get dressed.
Oh, no.
Put on my big girl pants.
It's all right. It's been a while.
Well, and so many people are making adjustments as we continue to navigate the COVID-19 crisis. Fingers crossed, though, we are on the back side of this pandemic. But I will say, Tyler, talk about such a trying time. We've had it so lucky compared to some of our school leaders throughout this pandemic, because it's hard enough to try to make those adjustments for a small staff. But when you're trying to make these adjustments for an entire school, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So with that, we want to bring in Carrie Visna. She is the head of the school over at the J.A.M school and Clausen, but they're an independent school, and I love their story as well. But we've talked to so many school leaders, but we haven't had your perspective throughout this pandemic. So, Carrie, thank you again for your time, for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Ronnie. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
But for those of us, I will say, and I apologize, I have been in the Metro Detroit area for so many years, and as a reporter for 10 plus years, I had never heard of your school, because we think of independent schools as either private schools or Catholic schools, and you're neither, or charter. Charter's been like really a big news topic, but you're neither.
We are. You are absolutely correct. An independent school has a mission statement, and that separates us from a parochial. We're not a religious school, and we're not a public school. So we do have a tuition and a mission and a vision. We are a member of AIMS, which is the Association of Independent Michigan Schools. Other schools you may know might be Cranbrook or University Liggett or Roper. So we are part of that organization. I like to think of JFIT as, and we've been kind of dubbed this, a small but mighty school. We have approximately, it fluctuates, 70 to 50 students, somewhere in there, and we are a preschool through 8th grade school. So with that brings a smaller, more intimate setting. I think it's allowed us during this pandemic to be able to face challenges more quickly and through the eyes of, with teamwork, which is very, very important to us. So.
And Carrie, before we kind of jump into the COVID side of this conversation, if I could just kind of touch on, because going on your website, the thing that I loved reading about was that you're a school of character. You're not just about the education of learning and reading today and memorizing facts to pass the test. You're really trying to nurture these kids to be great members of our community and our society. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I'd be happy to. And that really, you use that term nurture, and that's part of our mission statement, which is to nurture and prepare each child for life by integrating character education with a strong academic program. So we seek to educate the whole child, which means character, emotional, social, intellectual. And the founders of our school, which was about 50 years ago we're coming upon, was a group of parents that were, their students, their children were in the local public schools, and they weren't satisfied with they found a lack of character education, and they wanted a more substantial whole aspect to the learning environment. So they banded together and they founded JFIT School. And it is who we are, character plus strong academics.
Can you kind of break down quickly the elements that you believe build the character?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, it's a team effort with our parents. So when parents decide to have their children enroll at JFIT, it flows right through to the family. And so it's a cooperative aspect of learning. And we take a character quality. We have 18 character qualities. There's in 2 cycles, so 9 a year. And we focus on 1 a month, 9 for a year, 9 months of the school year. And teachers and the whole staff integrate that character quality into learning, into modeling, into their lesson plans. And it actually just becomes so second nature that it's just woven right through. You might take math and say, well, how can you express character in a math class? But take reliability, that would be one, or initiative, or punctuality. These are all aspects and character qualities that are important to the success of a student.
Carrie Visna with us here on the Megacast. She is the head of the school over at the JFIT school in Clawson. And I will say, listening to this and reading more about it as you were going to be a guest on the show, I'm like, this seems like it needs to really be the basic of so many other educational programs. I can't believe we're not hearing more about this.
Well, of course, I agree with you, Ronnie. You know, just building on that character aspect, which I do think separates us from other educational institutions, character provides leadership, opportunities for leadership, for public speakers. And we find that our students, when they leave JFIT school, go on to schools and then other schools following 8th grade that promote that aspect of leadership and go on to being in service to others. So it really is reaching out. We find our students reaching farther than themselves, very unselfishly, to serve communities as well.
I love that about your school and the practices that you're trying to implement within our students. If I can kind of shift the focus back to COVID-19. Mm-hmm. We've heard so much from the superintendents here locally with our public schools, but also we've talked to so many people from some of the Catholic schools. What has it been like for you as an independent school?
Well, I can tell you over a year and a half ago when March came around and suddenly, you know, the governor declared that all schools were closing, and the immediacy of that within 2 days, we were able to quickly pivot and adjust our education for our students to virtual. Our students each went home with a Chromebook, and that was all students. And teachers very quickly and in a team-like fashion coordinated their lesson plans, and it wasn't easy. I'm not saying that it was easy, but it was in the spirit of, I like to call it, we call it the silver lining, approaching this pandemic or problem, this challenge, with a sense of hope, and just digging deep for the resources that could help elevate that education, and even take it further than we had already, been experiencing through technology.
With that, Carrie, too, how many students are enrolled there at your school?
Right now, we're about 50, just a little over 50. So.
And do you think because of the size of your enrollment and your population with the students, it made it a bit easier? I mean, can you imagine doing this within 2 days?
Right.
That's the whole thing. Like, I don't think we really focused on that.
Right.
Could you imagine within 2 days you're being told you have to educate differently?
Right. And it did happen. And I do say that the intimacy of an education at JFIT School does have its benefits. And this certainly was one of those silver linings for us. Did we ever see this coming? No. But I do think that it proved to us the validity of an education at JFIT, and that although our numbers are smaller, we are absolutely relevant to today's world and producing students that leave a mark in society once they leave us.
Carrie Visna with us here on the Megacast. She's the head of the school over the JFIT school in Clawson. And if I can ask you as well, because while you're an independent school, you are also tuition based. And
yes.
One thing we have seen throughout this pandemic, really, it's highlighted the the issue of disparity within our community. So do you feel like because you are tuition based, maybe your families and your students didn't feel that impact as much as maybe a student in public education? Because I would assume most of your students, they have access to the internet.
They do, and you're absolutely right. So, and we do have students from all over, north of Clawson, up, north. We have some Ferndale, Berkeley, Troy, Detroit, Southfield. So we're all over the area with where our students come from. But yes, having a tuition base, I think it is different than a public school situation. But we also do have, I think, we work with every family that comes in to be able to reach them so they're able to, with tuition assistance if needed. So I strongly feel that's important, that we're able to reach as many students as we can and families.
But with that as well, one of the interesting things that's been happening with your organization is even though you're in the middle of a pandemic, it has not stopped your growth and your focus when it comes to STEM. Tell us more about that.
Correct. So we're so excited. We are launching a STEM lab. We have not had a STEM lab at JFIT School in the past, and we did receive a sizable grant that allows us to purchase a brand new STEM lab for our 5th through 8th grade students. And it will be located in their middle school room. But all students will be able to use it and schedule that opportunity. So it will be this summer purchasing wonderful equipment and supplies and furniture to furnish that wonderful lab, and it will just broaden all aspects and I think opportunities in the area of STEM. So for our students.
I love that because I think it's so important going forward that we focus the attention to the kids into that arena, because the great thing about them is they think creatively and they don't have the barriers that we do as adults, so they can really expand that horizon. Hey, are your students back in person, and are they wearing masks? Because if you're talking 8th grade and under, they're not, most of them aren't eligible for the vaccine yet, right?
Right. So way back when back in March, and when we did have to go virtual quickly, and then when summer came and it was, okay, what are we going to do in September? So quickly, this was another way that we pivoted. We wrapped the parents into this decision-making process of would they support coming back into a building? And if so, what safety protocols, health and safety protocols, would they like to see in place? So a survey was taken, and through that and working with faculty and staff and other administration, we put together a very thorough health and safety protocol package, which the parents totally bought into. I can say that some parents chose to pull out of school, but just a few. But then we gained others that came from public schools where they weren't able to be in the building, or they sought other areas, ways to educate their children, of which they sought out JFIT. So yes, our students, we have been in the building since September. Our students, part of our protocol is they are all wearing masks from preschool through 8th grade, as well as our faculty and staff. Even outdoors when they're at recess, this seemed to be the comfortability for our parents and our staff. And we're maintaining this through the end of school, which is June 11th. Even though the outside may be doing something different and there certain regulations be lifted, we're going to go to the finish line with this, the protocols that we have in place.
Well, let's hope that when you return in the fall, we'll be back to somewhat of a normal.
I sure hope so.
Right? It's been quite the year. Carrie Visna with us here on the Megacast. She's the head of the school over there at JFIT School, located in Clawson. We so appreciate your time, but also your perspective as well on what this has meant for independent schools throughout the pandemic, and we wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to checking back in with you maybe in the fall time.
I would love that, Ronnie, and thank you again for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Well, we appreciate it as well, but also if you could extend our thanks to all the members of your team. We know it has not been an easy year for our educators, so we want to say thank you.
I sure will, and thank you again.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll shift the conversation a bit to talking about memory. And can you take a few supplements each and every day to assist in your memory to help you avoid some of the downfalls of the Alzheimer's and dementia issues that we've seen become such an issue, especially during the pandemic? That's next here on the Megacast.
Today it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
We want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the Megacast. Tyler and I are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon, live. You can catch us at Civic Center at TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, but also if you have cable, thank you. Because a portion of your fee helps support programming such as this. You'll find us on Channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You can also listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. We are also live streaming today's edition of the Megacast on our social media page. So we want to say thank you. We make it easy, Tyler, for people to find us.
Yeah, we make it real easy. You can find us in a number of places, no matter where you consume your media or where you are, all over the world, anywhere you can be. You could be across the country, you could be across the world, and just go to our Facebook page and watch us live anytime.
With that, too, we have talked a lot throughout the pandemic with several experts regarding Alzheimer's and dementia on our elderly people, our members of our community and our loved ones throughout this pandemic, because we do know they have been especially hit. And I was looking up some numbers this morning, and according to the Alzheimer's Association, at least 42,000 more deaths from Alzheimer's or other dementia-related diseases occurred in 2020 compared to the last 5 years. And that number to me is staggering, because we have to remember it's not a number. It's a life. It's a life that has been lived. It's a mother, it's a father, it's an aunt, and it's uncle, and they have family members, and they have memories and connections, and that number to me is astounding. But there is a person here locally. He's a bit of an entrepreneur, though, in some other businesses as well, but due to a personal situation, he decided to kind of jump into the world of Alzheimer's and dementia and try to help come up with not a cure, but at least something to address the issue in the hopes of delaying what is happening. We're excited to bring in Edward Shehab. He's the co-founder and the managing partner for Memory Health, and it's great to have you with us.
Ronnie, good morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
Those numbers really kind of break my heart, because anyone that has an elderly family member in the middle of COVID, and even more so those that have been in our nursing homes and our long-term care facilities, I feel like this past year has just been one that so many people may never recover from.
Yeah, it's really been a tragic year for people suffering in that regard. I mean, I think you have to take a look at the state of mind of those people to begin with, and where are they in their walk of life, and unfortunately afflicted with some form of dementia, be it Alzheimer's. One of the things we do know, though, interaction is so key to a healthy life and a healthy brain. It's no different for people who are suffering. And the lack of interaction over this last year has been traumatic in that regard, and certainly has been, I think without a doubt, one of the reasons why we've seen additional increases, as well as we have continually aging population moving into that window. So it's a combination of things, but clearly last year, the isolation, not good for anybody, especially those currently suffering. But I'll just make another point. I mean, we're social animals. We need to interact. This whole idea of separation and isolation has way more effects than positives, I believe. And that's my personal opinion on that. But the news that I want to bring today is there's hope. As we've discussed, the product that we have is not a cure. But in reality, what we are stressing here is a product that we should be taking early on throughout our life, so we combat the ongoing effects of oxidative stress on the brain and mental disease as we move forward. And that's really the key. What we want to do is push the window out before individuals are actually hit hard with dementia/Alzheimer's. And we have been able to do that with this supplement. And that's really the key. No, it's not a cure, but it is a forestalling effect. And the longer we forestall the effects of the disease, the better quality of life we have. But more importantly, we avail ourselves to other opportunities to help us fight the disease as we move forward.
So before we kind of jump into the product itself, give us a little bit of background. Why did you get involved in this? You're an entrepreneur. You're not a medical doctor. You're not a researcher. You're not a scientist.
No, you're right. I am an entrepreneur, and quite honestly, I was running an oil company and still do to this day. And it's not a supplement company, but I did get involved, and I got involved for a personal reason. A couple of years ago, I was having lunch with my mother, and though it was a delightful experience, it quickly dawned on me she had no idea who I was. Oh. And that was a crushing blow, that the person who really is responsible for my life and saw my highs, my lows, enjoyed the successes that we were able to accomplish, she no longer knew who I was. And at that point, I was dumbfounded. I was crushed. And so I said, well, look, I've built companies, I've had some success doing that. I can fix this. I can get involved, and I can make a difference here. And I was introduced to this product by another entrepreneur and a dear friend of mine, who basically said, Eddie, this product's coming to market. It's 20 years in the research. I think you might want to give this to your mother and see how it helps her. So before I did that, I delved into it and really got a look at the product, looked at the scientific research behind it, and said, yes, this is something that I would like to do for my mother and see if I can make a difference for her. Ronnie, one of the things that we have seen in the science is that it's never too early to start with some form of supplementation, but it can be too late. In my mother's case, we'll call it a door that Alzheimer's patients kind of walk through. And that door, once it's breached, they're not coming back. And for my mother, that day was kind of the end of her abilities to, take a step back. Had this product been available 6 months earlier, it could have made a difference in my mother's life. I'm convinced of that. I've seen that in the medical research. But unfortunately for her, it was too late. But I believed in the product so much, I said to my friend and now partner, I said, if you ever need any investment to help spur the product along, let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that for you. Never thinking I would be involved in it at this point. He's busy with other things, his other companies. The product basically needed somebody to kind of jump in and try and build the brand and get it out into the hands of the public. And so I said, well, look, I can do that. I'll do that. My other companies are doing well. I can get involved in this. And that's how it happened for me. And since then, it's been a mission. There's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people moving down the road. And there are young people that need to start fortifying their brain. And so for me, it's become a passion.
So before we jump into what the supplements are, what age do you think people should start addressing this issue and taking this product or other products as well?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. As I mentioned earlier, the science has shown us that it's never too early. Interesting about our product, we've actually, and without delving into the product right away here, but the product is actually feeding the brain. So as a result, we've actually had pregnant women taking our product to nurture the brains of their unborn children. The reason for that is we're providing a food source to the brain to help nourish the brain, to help protect the brain as it moves forward. And so we've seen it at the very youngest, starts of life. And quite honestly, really what we think our demographic currently is, the 40 to 50-year-olds. As they're moving through life, they've already experienced a great deal of oxidative stress in their life. clearly the last year has been very hard on a lot of people. And that's unfortunately a check that's being written in our brain that we're not totally aware of until it's too late. You know, all of a sudden I start forgetting things, or I have brain fog and I'm not sure why, or I'm just not, I can't focus. And so those are signs where people really need to start taking a look at getting into a program like this, a supplement, to help them as they move forward.
Eddie Shehab with us here on the Megacast. He's the co-founder for and the managing partner for Memory Health. And as we mentioned, according to the Alzheimer's Association, more than 6 million Americans are living with the disease right now. And we have seen such a spike throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And if I can ask you, just what is it that is in your supplement that makes it different? Because we've heard these pitches for years.
Sure you have. And quite honestly, it's one of the biggest frustrations I have in trying to present our product. The first thing that everybody should know as it relates to any supplement they take, they should really take a look at what is the true science behind it. People claim science, but they look at peer-reviewed analysis of other products and say, well, my product has that, so therefore I have science. The difference here with Memory Health was Memory Health, the supplement itself, was selected for Alzheimer's research. We did not go to somebody and say, here's some money, start using our product in an Alzheimer's research study. And subsequent to that, that study was a double-blind, placebo-based clinical trial. The supplement now has gone through 5 different double-blind, placebo-based clinical trials, which you may remember that because that's Dr. Fauci's statement as it relates to a lot of things that were being presented in the whole COVID year. Well, that's really important because you have a controlled group and then you have the placebo group. And in this case, the supplement was given, it was studied over 14 months, and the results were really profound in that in the group receiving the Memory Health supplement, there were increases in mood, memory, cognitive function, and in half of the people in the group, there was a forestalling of the ongoing effects of the disease over that time period. What we do know with Alzheimer's, it can be rapidly moving, and in this case, that was just groundbreaking. So that then was taken, and the results of that clinical trial were published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease, and that started the ball rolling in using Memory Health and other subsequent clinical trials, from demented brains to mild cognitive impairment, which is unfortunately a stepping stone to dementia, and then all the way down into healthy brains. And what we saw consistently across the board is that supplement had provided increases in mood, memory, cognitive function for all those in the control group, actually going back over 5 different clinical trials, which is really profound. And I would say to you, I don't really know any supplement that has actually gone through that type of clinical trial. The other thing that's really important when you look at the science, and I stress this across the board, you have to take a look at who's doing the science, what the research is. Is it a clinical trial? Is it double blind? What you find is most supplements never go through anything like that. And as a result, with a product that we believe is really groundbreaking in this area, we have we're swimming upstream because there's a lot of really unfortunate junk product out there with big advertising budgets, but really no clinical trials behind it. And the last trial that just came forward was a meta-analysis. And I guess what I would say to you, that's kind of like Hall of Fame voting. So they take a look at all of the studies, a peer-reviewed analysis of all the studies for nutritional support of the brain, and then they rank their findings, and they either affirm or let's say I don't want to say that they're going to contradict, but what they look to do is affirm the findings of the studies. And for us, actually, the Memory Health supplement was used in 2 of the studies that were part of this 7-group study. And in that, the meta-analysis confirmed the fact that not only is Memory Health helpful for those people with demented brains, but it really helps people across the age spectrum, especially from really youth all the way up through to the demented brain. So that's big for us and clearly separates us. The other thing that's really important about Memory Health is that it's all natural. The supplementation itself, though it's patented, is a supplement that is found in nature. There are carotenoids, lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin combined with omegas, EPA and DHA. And that supplementation is used to basically feed the brain. There are carotenoid centers in our eye and in our brain, as well. The DHA is the largest mass in our brain. And so what this supplement does is it's actually feeding those centers. Now, what are carotenoids? Well, carotenoids are found in leafy green vegetables. They're found in fish, and they're out there. And people say, well, why can't I just eat it? Well, the problem
I was just about to ask you that, by the way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the problem is you can't get enough. And that has to do with a lot of things. But we take a look at the nutritional supplementation of a bowl of spinach in 1953 would require 40 bowls today. So you're not getting enough of the supplements of carotenoids and omegas in your diet. And as a result, you are not getting the flow that you need to help feed the brain and help make a difference in your eyes, your brain, with just a regular diet. So it's a combination of things. And here is kind of a supercharged supplement that is going through to the brain. The other thing that's really important is people ask us, well, how do you know it gets to the brain? And so the science and the research was all part of that. And they took a look at the macula, which is actually brain tissue. And the macula is the pathway, obviously, to the brain, and it's brain tissue. And so what they did is they took a look at the serum levels of carotenoids in the DHA in the macula. And after the study started, they started to take a look at, okay, where are those levels? And I think one of the things that's really kind of great for people to get an understanding here is that it's kind of like filling up your gas tank. The levels of the carotenoid supplementation increased linearly across the board and kept moving up in the macula tissue, which is basically saying we are kind of filling up that area with the carotenoid supplementation that is required. The other side of it is there's something called the blood-brain barrier. And that basically says, look, Ron, you can take anything you want. Take ginkgo, take whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But if it's not in the brain, it's not going to the brain. And so the blood-brain barrier basically is this, trolley car that says, yes, in the brain, come on up. No, in the brain, stay in the system. But you're not going to the brain. That was another really defining moment for us because we were actually able to show that the supplementation was actually getting up to where it needed to be, which all led, quite honestly, to the findings of the multiple research studies.
And with that, we should mention you're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, a little late on our station ID. But again, we're talking with Edward Shehab. He is the co-founder and managing partner for Memory Health. And if I could just kind of put on my journalistic hat here and dig into the reservoirs. And from my understanding, though, when it comes to supplements, they are not FDA approved. There is a lot of talk and discussion around when we buy these supplements on our, the store shelves. We don't know exactly what we're getting. So when it comes from your studies, but also the FDA, what is that link there?
Well, two things to take a look at. One thing that you pointed out, we don't know really what's in these supplements. And so now there's a move to have independent research studies, research groups take a look at the supplements themselves, break them down and say, you said you had carotenoids, you said you had omega. Well, indeed you do, and you do at the levels, and you don't have something else added to it. For example, Memory Health does not add caffeine to any of its supplementation. Many products do, and the reason for that is people want to feel like, oh, wow, it's making a difference immediately. So that is key. Understand that supplementation is considered food product, but it's not regulated by the FDA. And so as a result, that is not a cert that many supplements will look to find or seek. It's not part of this process. So that's why the consumer has to take a look at, okay, well, what is the workup behind this? What are the studies that are shown? Who did the studies? One of the problems that we also see is that we have firms out there that say, well, we have science. Well, actually what they don't. They have internal white papers that a scientist wrote which we saw a proliferation of this also with COVID, but it's not double blind, it's not clinical peer reviewed, and so it's really not strong science. And so that's the other thing that people have to take a look at, and that's what we fall back on, constantly. What separates us from everybody is A, the quality of our product, but B, again, we didn't pay for this. We were selected for the studies, the independent clinically reviewed research studies, and that's critical. And that's important. And I'm not sure really the FDA is really the harborer of that really kind of information. I don't know necessarily if that would even be the right way to regulate a lot of the supplements. But I can say to you that look at the product, see if there's been any formal certification of the quality of the product, what's actually in the product, and then subsequently take a look at the history and the science behind it. Is it real? Was the product actually used versus somebody saying, well, omegas are good for the brain. There were studies done on that. My product has omega, so mine is good for you. And you see a lot of that as well. And that's really the noise of the marketplace. And that's been really my big frustration is there's so much junk out there and really trying to separate ourselves from that.
And so with that, that would be, I think, one of the biggest challenges as well as you're coming in to try to separate yourself. But on top of that, too, what is the price for this? And is it a monthly?
Yes. So it's really critical here, too. And thank you for bringing that up. This is not, I take Memory Health today, and tomorrow I remember everything I forgot, or my brain fog has gone away and I'm bright again, or I'm focused again. This really is a journey, and it's a journey that you need to be taking. Understand the research studies primarily measured time of 14 months or 16 months with these patients. And so subsequently, some people saw immediate benefits, some people didn't see benefits till 6 months or 9 months. So it was important for us to have a product that people could consume on a regular basis without breaking the bank. And so as a result of that, our product right now is priced at $49.95 for an individual box, $44 for a subscription, and we really try and promote that. And the whole idea is to really try to continue to avail to people the opportunity to start this journey. And so that was important. The quality of the manufacturing of the process was important. Understand this is American made. We are not bringing product in from China. Our product is made in America. It's distributed here in America, and it's headquartered here. The company's headquartered in Michigan. So that was really the quality of the product, the pricing of the product, the science behind the product really is the envelope that we're bringing to the marketplace.
And with that, Edward Shehab with us here on the Megacast. He's the co-founder and managing partner for Memory Health. It is really such an important topic for all of us, and I think it's going to continue to be even more of a topic as we emerge from COVID-19, as we have addressed the issue of Alzheimer's and dementia, and I think it's brought it to the forefront for all of us as well, as we've seen family members suffer from this disease, and we don't want to go there. We don't want to be that next generation with this disease. So it doesn't really matter if anything can help you with it. It's going to benefit so many of us. So with that, I know that you're putting your name on this and your reputation on it as well. So we appreciate your time. Anything maybe I didn't ask, or give us the website where people can find out more info.
Well, thank you. It's memoryhealth.com. And that currently is really the only way that you can acquire the product. We are direct to consumer. That's part of our strategy as well. You will not find us on the CVS's, the Walgreens of the world. And the reason for that is there's a lot of noise on those shelves, and we need to continue to elevate and separate our products. So right now it's direct to consumer. And I do want to point out one thing to you too. My family's all on the product. My son, who's an athlete, he plays catcher in baseball, he plays quarterback in football. Obviously, his head is subjected to trauma. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm fortifying his brain today, because I know the effects of those positions down throughout the history of his life. I'm going to mitigate the effects of that. My daughter's on it. My wife, who suffered a concussion, playing in the pool with the kids, is on it. And I really believe my goal is to try and get everybody across the age spectrum to get onto the product. Fortify your brain today with a natural supplement, no negative side effects, clinically trialed, clinically proven, and the research is there. And with that, we can help build basically extend my mission to try and help as many people as possible.
I love that point as well, which you just brought up. It's not just for the elderly. Think now, and your brain
now.
will thank you later.
Yes, I would like to use that. That's a great line.
Go ahead. Think now, and your brain will thank you later. There you go.
That's exactly right. Today is the day to start that trek, and everybody should do it. And whether you take memory health or not, I hope you do, but think about what I said as it relates to the product that's out there. Advertising budgets don't equal science.
Yes.
Or reality, for that matter. Take a look at the products you're taking. Make good, educated choices. It's your money. You're spending it. Make sure you get something out of it.
And we know that this is a passion project for you as well. So.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've been fortunate. The success I've had in other companies have availed me the opportunity to do this. And I'm grateful that my partner and friend brought me this glimmer of hope that I hopefully can pass on to more. It truly is a passion. It's a very empty, hopeless feeling when the person you dearly love has no idea you exist anymore. And I need to fix that for a lot of people. And hopefully we'll have more and more people understand that and not wait till then, because honestly, then is too late. We need to start this process now.
Such a good point. We so appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate being here. It's been a pleasure. And I'll look forward to hopefully running into you and talking about this in the future. And again, any more questions, any thoughts, don't hesitate to contact me or go to the website, memoryhealth.com.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. Our apologies to our next guest for running a little bit late. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about records, old school times here on the Megacast.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid. Can I ask you a question? Why did you get vaccinated?
I'd like to go to these school dances and spring break to have fun.
I want to be in person for college next semester.
I want to get out of this pandemic.
I wanted to protect the people around me.
Why did you get vaccinated?
Because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I just want to go to a show, dance around, not have to worry about anything, feel like I'm free again.
So we can not miss out on the best years of our life.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
Say thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the Megacast. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live. If you can't tune in, you can always catch some of our previous episodes. Go to civiccentertv.com, click on Megacast. If you don't have time to sit through the entire interview, we kind of get it, but we make it easy. Just go to the on-demand section, and then you can watch the individual interviews as well. Tyler, as you know, we recently participated in the weekend garage sale bonanza in Sylvan Lake and Kiko Harbor.
Yeah, a fun weekend of everybody around you trying to sell everything that they possibly can from all ages of their possessions.
One of the biggest questions we were asked, do you have any records?
Okay.
Over and over and over.
Do you have any records?
We do, but my husband is not going to sell them. As you know, he's this crazy collector of all things I was about to say junk, but I don't want to say that considering our next guest. But I will say, my husband is not giving up his albums. He even bought the frames that you can put some of the albums in as well. But there was one location, and they had a ton. It was like 45s, and I think they used to own a record shop. Okay. But records are back in style.
How about that?
Or at least I would think so. And someone who would know so much more about that than me, let's bring in Rick Lianis. He's the owner for the Dearborn Music Store. Records are back in style, right?
Yes, they are. It's there's been a big resurgence on vinyl records in the past, I don't know, I want to say 7 years, but there was another resurgence about 6 months ago. During the lockdown.
With that, Rick, what was the first record you bought?
First record that I bought was a 45. It was an Elvis Presley 45.
And do you remember like putting that little thing in the middle? It looked like, you know, what they put on pizzas now, but you had to put it in the middle so that it fit the hole for the albums, right?
Yeah, well, it was a centerpiece, yes. Yeah.
So for me, I think my first record was a 45, and I didn't know what I was buying. I was just so excited to buy a record. I think I had saved up money. It was like I don't know, 89 cents. I don't know. But it was the Jay Giles band, Cocaine. Did he sing? Was that Cocaine? Yeah, Jay Giles, right?
There's
who sang that song?
It's Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton.
Oh, okay. What was on the backside of that? Because remember, that was cool. You got 2 songs for the price of 1.
Right. Unfortunately, I don't know what the backside of the Cocaine.
And I will say I was like in 5th or 6th grade. I shouldn't have been listening to that music, but I think I went for another record and they didn't have it, but I just wanted to buy a record because I saved up my money. I don't know. But with that, though, how big is this industry now? Because we are seeing, you know, like really a big interest in vinyl again.
Yes. The vinyl sometime last year took over as the best-selling configuration. It took over CD for the first time in probably about 25 years.
What?
But it's based on dollars, not on units.
Oh, okay.
So it's $24 to $32 for a piece of vinyl, where a CD is $13 to $16. So it's, you know, once the units surpass on vinyl over CDs, then the vinyl will be king again, in my eyes. We've always been a really strong for CDs. We've been a destination shop for CDs. Then probably November of last year, vinyl surpassed CDs for us.
We obviously had a box full of CDs my sister brought over as well, and they were doing pretty well, but I was laughing because I was like, who even has a CD player in their car any longer?
That is correct. Every time they launch a new a model, or they upgrading a model, the CD player is being taken out of the car. Maybe not so much on the trucks, but at least on the car base.
Yeah. I thought I was cool when my Toyota RAV4 back in the day had one of those post-factory CD players that you could switch between 6 CDs at the same time. That was cool.
Yeah, some of them were in the glove box with those 6 CD changer. Some of them were in the back, inside the trunk. It all depends on, you know, what kind of make and model the car was, where they were able to hide that 6 CDs changer.
So with that, if I can ask you, what's it been like for you guys? I know you're a family business. Your father, I believe, owned the store, and then you and your brother, you know, purchase it from him, and then we hit this pandemic. How has business been for you, and how have you managed the past year?
We have a great ability to adapt. When my father first bought the business, it was mainly sheet music, instruments, and lessons. Then there was vinyl. And through the years, we were able to change through what everybody was looking for. During the pandemic, me and my son were here for the first 45 days by ourselves, and we were very fortunate that we already had an e-commerce started. And we were able to start middle April of the shutdown. We were sending out 200 plus packages a day. And
holy cow!
Yeah, yes, it was quite challenging, just the two of us here. And so we were able to establish an e-commerce business and keep it going currently. So we were able to adapt to it. It was tough, frustrating, but long hours for me, for sure. But
hey, Rick, how old is your son?
23.
Oh, I was hoping he was going to be like 14 or 15. I was like, talk about teaching them life lessons right there. 23 though, but still, great.
No, he's probably started when he was 15, helping out.
Okay.
That's awesome. Rick Lianos with us here on the Megacast. He is one of the owners over at the Dearborn Music Store. And with that, because I would imagine, as you were saying, you went online because if you weren't essential business back in the very beginning of the pandemic, you couldn't open your doors. So as we've been able to reopen, has your business stalled, or are you continuing to grow?
Continuing to grow. It really hasn't stalled one bit. People were looking for entertainment. You can't go to concerts. You can't go to the movies. You can only get half capacity in restaurants. So you're looking to do something, especially people working, from home. You have to separate work from home. How do you do that? So a lot of people started expanding their music collection. They started expanding their DVD collection, even their CDs. So, so we were very beneficial, because people were looking for entertainment.
With that too, we should recognize that for so many people that believe they're kind of purist. And downloading music, I'm a downloader. My husband buys CDs and albums. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I can buy that one song. No, he's like, it's just the difference between us. But some people, for him, it's like, I don't get the purity of the album because they like that static sound and not that studio sound.
There is a difference between digital and analog, and being analog. And even there's a different sound from digital downloads or your MP3s. It's compressing the song when you compress it. I'll go into an MP3. So you're not getting the full sound. And the people who are analog vinyl lovers, they want to hear everything that's going on around them, and it's all depends on how that record was recorded too. If you're looking for those classic rock records, from the 60s and the 70s, they were meant to be played back one way and one way only, and that was vinyl. And not until 1983, when you first got your compact disc, then they went into the studio and started using digital tape. And that sound was supposed to be played back one way and one way only, and that was compact disc or digital. And so you got two factors going on right there. So if you listen to a Sting record that came out in '86 and you bought it on vinyl, it sounded different than a compact disc. So now they have technology to make it sound just as good on vinyl as on compact disc.
So Rick Liana is with us here on the Megacast. He's the owner for Dearborn Music. You talked a little bit about some of the positive things that have come out of this for you and your business, and that so many people are buying online. But if we can talk to, I know that you were in the process of opening another location. Is that still a go?
Yes, we're hoping to be in there sometime in July, maybe even August. We're going down to we're opening a second store in downtown Farmington, the old dress barn. We're not taking the whole building. We're taking 6,200 square feet of it.
That's a great location, though, right there in that little square.
It looks like it's a good shopping district. It's well mixed with restaurants and other retailers out there. So And we're going to have almost the same mix as what we have out here, probably more on the vinyl end and less on the CDs and DVD. But we'll be carrying like the merchandise, the T-shirts, the rock shirts, carry a lot of puzzles, games, and a lot of different entertainment stuff.
You know, it's funny because when you think music, the old school music stores would just have like the records and you would go through the bins, but now you really have to diversify, and doing just that, making it more pop culture and having the T-shirts, the puzzles, and the side elements as well to supplement that income.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we learned in 2003. It's when downloading became very popular.
Yeah.
And with the introduction to DSLs, now it doesn't take you 3 minutes to download a song. You can download a whole album in a minute. And that's when the record industry got really hurt bad. In 2003 to 2008, some 3,500 independent record stores closed. And so it was contributing to all the downloading. And so as we were taking CDs off the wall, instead of ordering 1,000, let's say, NSYNC records, when a new release is, we're only ordering 30. And so all that space CD space was being taken away. And so what do you do with that? Customers don't like seeing blank spots on the wall or empty racks. So we started bringing in more of the pop culture stuff. We tried posters, T-shirts, actually action figures, all sorts of different stuff, and see, what we can do, to survive. So we weren't part of the statistics of closing the store down.
So I feel like you were already prepared for the pandemic and COVID-19, your industry, rather, because you guys have been good at trying to pivot and adapt to the changing world around you.
Yes. I think all businesses should be able to adapt to their customer needs. You can see some clientele fading away, and how do you draw them back in? In 2003, if we saw a tween or someone in their early 20s, it would be a miracle. Because they were busy just downloading music, and they didn't care about physical music.
Right.
So how did we get them back? And I in one of the industries developed a record store day, which is right around the corner right now, and that's it's actually a celebration of independent music independent record stores through music. And there's some, I think, 400 special titles coming out, maybe 300 titles coming out in June, 300 titles coming out in July. And it's just made for independent record stores, small little runs, maybe 1,000, maybe 5,000 pieces. That's throughout the country.
Rick Liana's with us here on the Megacast. He's the owner for Dearborn Music. We're excited, Rick, to have your next location open up a bit closer to us. Before we say goodbye, what is your website if people want to go on, find more, but also buy one of those old school albums?
Okay, it's dearbornmusic.com or dearbornmusic.net, whichever one you can use the best. Or you can give us a call at the store. 313-561-1000.
Well, we look forward to you opening in Farmington. When that happens, we'll have you back on the show, and maybe you can do us a walk around, tour.
That sounds great.
We so appreciate your time. Music has helped see so many of us through this crazy pandemic. With that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll be talking to the Gleaners Food Bank. That's next here on the Megacast.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's a second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
Thank you for taking time out of your Thursday. Or no. What day? Yeah.
It is Thursday.
It is Thursday.
That's correct.
Oh my gosh. It is so funny how we are stuck in our routines, right?
Yeah, you have one Monday where you're not coming in, and it throws off your entire week. All of a sudden, you don't know what day it is. You're a day ahead. You're a day behind. You're just spinning all over the place. Is it Thursday? Who knows? Doesn't feel like it.
And we were just talking because I have volleyball tonight.
Right.
And so I finally talked my husband into being a part because we need subs. And it's hard for him because he doesn't know his schedule every week. And I was like, oh, I just got the text of our time because there are different times that you play.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, my husband's playing. I know it's Thursday, but in my head, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it. It definitely doesn't feel like a Thursday today.
I'm happy that it is Thursday.
So
We're that much closer to the weekend. The weather is going to be beautiful over the next week as we start to emerge into summer here in the state of Michigan. But I also wonder, too, because so many times I remember when I worked for ATF, we had the big Gleaners box in the office to help donations and support the summertime, because so many kids here throughout Metro Detroit and really across the country as well, school is where they get their meals. And as you go into summertime, for so many of them, sadly, that's when they go hungry. And so Gleaners always does a great program to address that summer deficit to try to make sure our kids are getting food, but nutritious food as well. Angela Helverson joins us now. She's the Director of Donor Engagement for Gleaners Food Bank. Angela, we want to say thank you for being with us.
Absolutely. Good morning. Still morning. And it's Thursday. Who knew?
Yes.
I know. I think we should just go ahead and make it Friday.
Sure, let's do it.
I'm cool with that.
I got 3 votes for it.
Angela, I love what all of you do over there at Gleaners, but I have been wondering too, what does it look like this year as we go into the summer months? Because people still are not back in the offices, and even for those that are returning to the offices, it's not the staffing levels into which we used to have. And we know that you rely on that for your donations.
Right. Well, so, the need is still out there. The need is absolutely still out there. People were in trouble before the pandemic. Yeah. Hundreds of thousands of our neighbors were food insecure before the pandemic. So now, the pandemic has just compounded everything. If your job was furloughed, if you were let go and you're coming back to work at the same pay amount, if you're starting a new job at the same pay amount, the problem is the cost of groceries has risen, as I'm sure we've all noticed. It was just on the morning news the other day. It's gone up 3% over last year, the cost of groceries. So you're bringing home the same paycheck, but it doesn't go as far towards the cost of your groceries. So Gleaners is working so hard to be meeting the need in the community where, we're meeting people where they're at. We're trying to be the best resource, the most stable resource that we can be for people that need us.
So going into the summer months, how is it going to look differently this summer than summers past and trying to reach these families and these kids?
Well, we've increased, since last spring, we have increased our distribution sites tremendously. It's funny, I started with Gleaners last April. So I started at such a crazy time. And what I saw was people completely shifting their jobs at Gleaners, their existing positions, to get out there. People that were running programs within our warehouse were now out there organizing distribution sites and all of the logistics that go into it. So what we're doing this summer is we're increasing the amount of distribution sites. So we're changing them slightly during our Hunger Free summer campaign, where we're getting out there, and it's in 3 different ways, because kids are out of school, as you mentioned, and some people are still out of work. We have grocery sites where people can literally drive up, and we're going to fill their trunk with groceries that they need for a week, for 2 weeks. And it's nutritious stuff, as I think you mentioned. It's not just canned goods. It's the fruit, it's vegetables, it's lean protein, and it's milk, which of course for kids is such a huge thing that they need. We have meal sites where people can, again, drive up, very safe. We're going to put prepared meals into their cars so they can take those home and they have meals. And then in some low-income communities, we have a schedule of delivering meals to daycares and summer camps. So again, you can count on those meals to be there. And then in addition to that, we have mobile delivery sites where we're going to deliver lunch to kids, to families, 5 days a week. And again, these are all pre-scheduled. So you can go to our website and you can find out where that refrigerated truck is going to be, and you can count on that lunch to be there 5 days a week.
With that, Angela, too, if I can ask, because some of these items do have a shelf life.
Yes.
So is this really, like, you're concerned about the timing? Because if you don't get it to the people in time, the food goes bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, we have everything's kept in that refrigerated truck, and it's a mix of shelf-stable items and the fresh veggies and the fresh fruit.
Because I will say, I remember doing a homeless retreat, and that was the biggest thing when we were on the streets. And again, we were only there for a few days and not like being homeless. But the big concern is always the shelf life on trying to get a fresh, nutritious food, and that's why so many of these organizations really rely on canned goods and peanut butter and jelly, things of that nature that can last longer as well. Because when you're hungry at the end of the day, you just want food, but we need people to have fresh, good food to nourish their bodies, especially when we're talking about kids. So with that, and everything has been pushed to the internet, but we do know there is a group of people that need these items that maybe they're not so internet savvy, elderly people, but also kids. Maybe they don't have the internet in their home. So how can they find out more about these locations if it's not just through the website? Can they call you guys?
Absolutely. That is not a problem. We have our office hours, I want to say 8 to 5. There's always somebody answering the phone. You can call, and they can, and I've been in the customer service office when people call, and she's going to ask where you live. She's going to ask what kind of transportation you have. So we can meet you where you're at. We can get as close to you as we can.
There are so many logistics involved in this, from getting the donations to getting them into the warehouse stocked and rescheduled and then out to the people. What is the behind the scenes like for you and your team?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. We have a big team, and we work so hard. It has been just nonstop. Before the pandemic, and then certainly even since. The logistics, as you just mentioned, the logistics that go into all of this, the amount of trucks, the amount of refrigerated space. There is certainly more at the Detroit warehouse. There is far more space devoted to freezers and refrigerators than there is for any people. it's and then we've just expanded to our South Campus, which is really exciting, opening up in Taylor there really soon, in just a couple of weeks. And it's great to have an opportunity to store and then distribute the amount of food that we have, and to meet the need that is greater than ever. Pre-pandemic, each month on average, we would distribute about 3.5 million pounds of food. And since the pandemic to this date, our consistent average is 6.5 million pounds of food a month.
Wow.
So we've outgrown our space. So we're very fortunate to have some additional space to meet that need, because we're working out of space we've been in since 1977, and the need is ever greater.
So with that as well, volunteers, how are you looking on that front? Because we know there was a point in time where not only we were all on lockdown, and that included volunteers. Yeah. Are they coming back now?
They are. We're hoping to get back to that this summer, and boy, do we need it. So, with all these increased distribution sites, because throughout these several months, we haven't been able to have volunteers out there helping put the food in people's cars and helping just kind of keep the flow of traffic going. So we had to hire Tomcs, and it was for everybody's safety, so that instead of a different group of volunteers every day or at every distribution site, that's just not safe for everybody. We had to hire Tomcs to come in, and we expanded our workforce to man those distribution sites. So we are really hoping to get back to having volunteers in our warehouses. I'm sure, packing up the boxes, sorting through all of our donated food, sorting through all of our food. I even volunteered with pre-working at Gleaners. I volunteered with my son's soccer team in the Gleaners garden, weeding it out and getting ready to get the veggies ready for distribution in the spring and summer.
It really is. The volunteers make all the difference, but it's not only what your organization gets out of the volunteers, it's what the volunteers get out of taking their time and donating it to the organization.
Yes, absolutely. Our volunteers are our volunteers and our donors and our corporate partners. They're all so essential, and absolutely, we are really hoping to bring our volunteers back this summer, because you're right. There's no better way to witness the operation. To get an inside view of this giant warehouse and how we pulled all together, and just with the amounts that we're dealing with, we absolutely need our volunteers.
It really is. I know that I've been a part of the volunteer efforts. Usually it's with a team. Fox 2 has always been good about volunteering, and they get the entire staff out there. So even when I was an employee, and then of course through my husband as well, it's a good team building exercise as well. For, like you mentioned, it was a soccer team. So encourage everyone to take part in that.
Absolutely. And again, as we keep our website, of course, up to date. So as our volunteer opportunities open up, you can absolutely go to our website and check it out. And it is at a former position. Also did team building, packing boxes. I think it was at the Warren warehouse at that time, but it's great. It's really interesting to see the inside of a food bank. Not a lot of us can say that we've seen that, we've witnessed it, and we've helped the distributions.
Angela Helverson with us here on the Megacast. She's the Director of Donor Engagement at Gleaners Food Bank. With that, Angela, too, how can people find out more information? You mentioned the website. You keep it up to date.
Yeah, absolutely. It's GCFB, so GleanersCommunityFoodBank.org. And I encourage people to go check out our website, find out where our distribution sites are. And also, we're starting our Hunger Free Summer campaign. Starting on June 7th. We run it all summer, and it's a great time if you are at all inclined to donate to Gleaners and help us continue to meet the community's needs. Every dollar being donated to Gleaners over the summer is being matched by a group of corporate partners, including Citizens Bank. So literally, if you donate $50, it is a $100 donation, and for every dollar, that provides 3 meals for families. So this is your opportunity to provide $6 meals per dollar to families.
I love that. And think about that. Like, you go to Starbucks, so you know, my gold card is not in jeopardy. Let's just say that, even with their reduced hours because they can't get employees. But you think about that. You know, just miss one coffee a week at $5, and you're feeding so many people. So I think some people feel like, oh, I don't have a lot of money to be able to spare, but really is just that one little thing, that $1 can make such a big difference. So please do so and help support Gleaners.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be wonderful.
Angela, we so appreciate your time with us as always.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great to meet you and great to be here. Thank you.
We look forward to meeting in person one day.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be great?
It really would be. Angela, again, Gleaners Food Bank, please help support their continuing effort, because while we are starting to emerge from the pandemic, Tyler, we have to remember so many people still need food and good food as well. And hopefully throughout this pandemic, we've come to realize families that maybe used to donate are the ones that are in need right now. And there's no shame in asking for help. Please do so and continue to support the efforts that are making our community stronger. We all appreciate it. With that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast, just about 15 minutes left. And when we come back, we will be joined with the Troy Chamber of Commerce. That's next here on the Megacast.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Tyler, have you ever purchased something you don't really like it, but you're forcing yourself to drink it because you bought it? It's my money.
That's happened to me a few times before. It's like, all right, I just need something to, quench my thirst, maybe, or give me a little bit of energy, and then you take a sip of it, and you're like, nope, that was a terrible decision, not only financially, but also a terrible decision for your own consumption, as this is absolutely terrible, and we'll be with you until you can get to the nearest toothbrush.
That's me with this cold brew right now, because you always need caffeine in the morning.
You do. It's true.
Hey, so we were just interviewing and talking with Angela over at Gleaners, and they've been such a vital element, not only before the pandemic, but of course their resources and their help has been needed even more so through the pandemic. And I will say, throughout this past year, I think businesses have really come to appreciate our different chambers of commerce. Yeah. They have been the lifeline, really, for so many of these businesses. And one of those chambers, rather, has been over in our great city of Troy. Because for all of us that live here in Metro Detroit, Troy is the mecca when it comes to shopping and dining. You know, Detroit's getting all the hoopla.
Of course.
You know, Detroit's comeback.
City. Yeah.
But look, let's just be clear. Detroit does not have Somerset Mall.
It's true. It's very true.
It's not really a mall. It's an experience. It's a collection.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes. It's a collection.
It's not a shopping mall. It is a collection.
It's a collection.
And one of the people that has been helping so many of these businesses keep their doors open has been the president for the and CEO for the Troy Chamber of Commerce. Always great to have our good friend Tara Tomcsik with us here on the Megacast. Tara, great to have you back with us.
Hi, good to be back.
Are things looking up for so many of the businesses in the city of Troy as we emerge, we hope, from this pandemic?
Well, first, I just wanted to say thank you for calling us the mecca of shopping and dining. I do agree. And yes, it really can never be called a mall. It's a collection.
Right. So people, just so you know, like I have family members in Ohio, they come just to go to Somerset, you know, because there is really no other shopping like Somerset in the Metro Detroit, or really within the region. You have to go to Chicago.
Well, and not only that, we've kind of become a really great staycation location. So people come in to shop. We have a very large amount of wonderful hotels that also serve and restaurants. So you can actually come to Troy for a mini vacation of shopping, dining, and exploring the community.
I've been to Somerset around the time those stimulus checks come out, and it's a little bit busy.
Yeah. Very busy. Yes.
But you also wonder too, like, are they having the same problem getting employees at some of the stores and the shops than the rest of some of the businesses?
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is that we are really in a staffing crisis. So it is very difficult to get any staff, especially in the hospitality, retail, restaurant sectors. It's been very, very difficult. With minimum wage being what it is, and with the stipends that people are receiving, you truly would have to pay about $16.55 for it to even break even with the stipend cost. So it's a big issue for people who are receiving the stipend to come to work when they would possibly make less. So there's so many issues. And people are saying, people are lazy, other things. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who are lazy and don't want to go back to work. That's a whole different category, but childcare has something to play with it. There's still fear going on. There's still a lot of reasons people aren't coming back to work. But we have to find a way to get people to come back to work, or that's where we're going to see the crisis.
And we should understand, too, though, there are so many, elements at play here, as you just mentioned. But the one thing is, if you were sitting at home and you're not taking this time to try to take advantage of some of these programs for free education and this, that, and the other, you're not getting experience or learning a new skill that you could get if you're going to work. So even if you work at a Starbucks or a McDonald's or here, there, and the other, you never know who you are going to meet if you go to work, or what skills you are going to learn.
Right? You're right, though. There's so many new opportunities. This is a perfect time for people to pick a new career path. So if they were not sure about doing this, there's now education areas that you can learn about that new position or find a new role. It's a wonderful time for that.
And it's the people you meet as well. Yes. I read a book one time, and it was talking about people that are lucky people. And you're not lucky because you have this brilliant star over you and luck just shines on you. You're lucky because a lot of times you take the time to talk to strangers, and that moment of just that spark of the conversation. You never know what opportunities lay in could be in the person behind you.
I love you saying this, because that really is the pinnacle of chambers. Because chambers are the whole reason to bring people together, connect people to new businesses, help grow businesses by connecting and shopping local and creating partnerships and bonds with companies that you may have never known before. And then also learning more, because we have educational programs all the time. So you just defined what we do, and I appreciate that.
Happy to help you out. And with that, can we also talk, because it's been a challenging time for you and your team as well, but do you think coming out of the pandemic, people are going to appreciate the work and the connections that the Chamber provides and really kind of strengthen those relationships?
You know, I think so we're redefining what our vision and our mission is as we speak, because I think this year changed how everyone does business. So for us to just say we bring people together is not really the case anymore. From an appreciation standpoint, I will say we're very heavily appreciated. We're very grateful to our members, but it's nice that they're grateful for us, because I think this year specifically, we spent so much time connecting them to money, connecting them to dollars, helping them understand how to apply for PPP funding, how to apply for grants. We have over 60 nonprofits in our chamber alone, and teaching them, hey, here, these are grants that you may not know about. I mean, one of our chamber members received over $60,000 literally from an email we sent her. And other, like our hotels and our restaurant partners, being able to say, hey, we'll help you figure out how to do outdoor dining. Like, I think everybody kind of had a smaller team and a smaller staff. So for them to be able to use us as an extension of their team to help them do the dirty work and figure it out, it's been really beneficial. But I think it also is beneficial for our team, because we learned so many new things that we had no knowledge about and found a way to become experts in it. And I'm just super proud to be a part of such a great team.
And so with that as well, what do you think has been one of the best things that you've had to learn that's going to stick with you in the next phase?
Well, a few things. First, I would say trust. I think when you have trust in your team, you know the work is going to get done. And I believe in my team 100%. Not one of them ever faltered. We completely served our members to full capacity, no matter what. But I think the other aspect is this wonderful virtual platform. Sometimes it's difficult for people to come out. Sometimes they don't have the time to get 15 people together to meet you for lunch. Now I have the opportunity to say, hey, just meet me for 15 minutes. We'll do a call. I'll help you through that process. So I will say the virtual environment, although we already have started our face-to-face meetings and we already have in-person events going on, we're not going to lose our virtual options as well. So we can meet people where they are if they want to show up or if they want to stay home.
With that too, I wish I had stock in Zoom before all of this. Never heard of Zoom before the pandemic. But with that, Tara, just another minute or so with you here on the Megacast. Any new businesses that are actually going to be opening their doors there in Troy?
Well, on average, I have 2 to 3 ribbon cuttings a week. So that is a very, very long, dragged out list of new businesses. So businesses are still moving into Troy. If you don't mind, if I have 1 second, I'd love to talk about, I actually had a ribbon cutting yesterday. And it was probably the most powerful ribbon cutting I've ever been to. And it was for Beaumont Urgent Care. And I know that sounds silly, but it was all the high C-level regional managers and everyone coming to celebrate this new urgent care for Beaumont opening up. And that was great. And it was exciting to see all these senior leaders in one room. But what was so amazing about it, and literally I might cry because it was so amazing, when we were all leaving, 2 of my teammates left, but in front of us, a giant car accident happened right on DeQuinder. 2 cars, 1 car flew across the street, was in another parking lot. And what I watched was, honestly, the regional medical director, Dr. Sessa, in her heels and beautiful dress to be a part of the ribbon cutting, bolting down the street, making sure she provided the care, even though it was not like a normal time to do so. But when you see all these senior leaders who are there to celebrate a new business opening and them standing by their mission of providing good care, and literally in the middle of the street, moving car parts and holding on to people to make sure they're safe and healthy, and everyone did turn out okay, but it was so inspiring. It was just a moment of saying people practice what they preach, and I think that's consistent with a lot of our businesses, is that when you believe in a mission and you believe in what you do it in heels, you do it in sweats, you figure it out, and you make it happen. And it was just such a wonderful thing to see that they really did care, and everyone was safe, but it was a scary situation that was also inspiring.
And in that, it's always about the moment of gratitude. The attitude of gratitude. We are so lucky to be here in our area, and we're so lucky to have people such as yourself in the chambers here to help us navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. Tara Tomcsik with us, President and CEO for the Troy Chamber of Commerce. Always great having you on the show. And can we say thank you again for all of your help with so many of our businesses over the past year. And with that, that's going to wrap up today's edition of the Megacast. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Take care, everyone.